Hi there, this is Jacob, jacoblevideoproduction.com, and in this video I'm going to walk you through how to edit videos you shot on your phone or on your DSLR for your business on your computer. Now I'm going to be using Final Cut, but you can use any editor to do this. You could use a free one, iMovie, DaVinci Resolve. So if you want me to do an exact tutorial on using iMovie or DaVinci Resolve or a free program like that, please leave a comment down below. If you're new here, please subscribe and click the bell to be notified when I come out with new content. I have so much content on marketing your small business using video. So for organization, I find it sometimes useful to put a number 1 in front of the things that I need to access all the time. I generally sort things alphabetically. YouTube I do all the time. So we want to make our own folder and call it something that we can remember. So I'll say advanced shooting videos on your phone. And we'll want to make subfolders. One for the video clips and another for the audio. If we shot it separately, it may be connected. And then we also want if we have any graphics and if we have any music. So I shot a decent chunk of this on my phone. So I'm going to take my phone and connect it. And I'll want to open up image capture. So there are 3 files that I shot that I need to import. So we're going to choose the folder to import to. We'll go to Other and find the one that I just created. YouTube Advanced on your phone and choose Video Clips. And then not import all, that'll do everything on the phone, but just import. Should give you update that it is importing. And you can see the progress right here. I'll probably speed this up starting now. All right, so it is finished importing. I find it's useful. I'll sometimes even just name the exact files. You can name it within the editor, but sometimes it's just easier when you're getting organized or need to move stuff around later to actually title the files themselves a different name. So I'll just say main discussion. I also did separate audio. So by labeling things, it'll be more obvious to sync them together and choose the clips that go with one another. This is just light stand and light stand 2. So those 2 are B-roll, which means they don't have voice with it. They're just insert shots, shots that I can put over top of me speaking. And I also, for this one, shot a few clips of my DSLR on my camera that records to an SD card. It looks like this. On some computers, you can insert it directly into the computer, but like for this one, I have a card reader that plugs into USB as well. So since I have that, I have my audio on an SD card and I have my video on an SD card, so I am going to plug that in. All right, so it has now shown up. So I will find where those files are located. It should be just these 4. So I'm able to take them and I can just drag them as well. If you have a ton of clips, you may want to separate the phone or the camera. Since I just have 7, this should be fine. So I'm going to speed up the process of transferring over these clips as well as my audio clips. All right, so we are back. I have transferred everything over. I added the audio files from my SD card. That's with recording audio separately to another device, which is higher quality. You can run audio directly into a camera or into your phone. It won't be quite as high quality, but you won't have the separate audio file, so you won't have to sync it. But I'll go through the steps to sync really quickly. And I have a few little graphic elements, and yeah, I'm not going to use music for this one, but you can also have a folder for stills and potentially for your project file, because sometimes you may have a few different versions, so it's nice to have them in a folder. So your overall editing file, you need this saved, and I'm going to open up one right now. This is Final Cut. It'll be the same steps pretty much no matter what you're using. I do a 2-screen setup, but I'm going to switch to 1 screen so it's easier to follow along and everything is contained right there. So I have my existing projects open. Instead, I'm going to do a new, depends, it could be a project, it could be a library, basically your overall document that it's going to live in. I will find my advanced phone project file, and advanced phone is a good name. You do want to make it something, often you can pull up like recent projects. So if I titled it like version 1, you know, I'd know what that was within the folders, but it would be a little bit confusing if I go into the list of project files I've opened. You want to be able to tell what it is. So I'm going to close the other libraries. So we just have this blank canvas. So importing, you can do it through File, you can click this button. Pretty much every application, you'll have the option to import your media. All of the photos or videos or graphics. So we will find the folder we created. We can just go down with these, and you can just select them and then click Import Selected. And I do have it set so it doesn't automatically close the window. You can choose different settings, but since I'm keeping this more general, this should work. So I have my graphics. Now the nice thing with these graphics, these have an alpha channel. So if you're not familiar with that, if you are familiar with PNGs, it has transparency. And what that means is, you know, if I exported this just as a flat image with black over top of it, then if I place this on top, it would just cover up the whole image with black. But because it has transparency, or the background is transparent, I'll go into setting things up, but just to give an example, because I have that transparency, it shows up here. So none of the background color shows up, so you can stack it on top of other things, which is really cool. So maybe you have graphics, maybe not. I could do tutorials on creating those if you want. So I am going to create a new project. In other programs, this may be like a sequence, but this is a timeline of what your project is. And you want to give it a name, phone, and I'll do rough cut 1, RC1. So I know this is kind of a first edit. I think it is good to kind of chronicle the different versions and have those backed up, kind of like doing different save as for your Word document. It does autosave, and it may be possible to try to jump to an older version, but this has clearly dialed out different versions that you've done. 1920 by 1080 is sort of the HD standard. And for YouTube, this is what you want to go with. You could do 4K, but that's, I think, overkill. I have a 4K camera and I upload in 1080. It takes longer to edit, longer to export, longer to upload to YouTube, and I can't really see a big quality difference because it's compressed and it's streaming on the internet. So if it's TV, if it's YouTube, 1920 by 1080 is a great format to do. However, if we're talking Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, a square video does better, or even one that is 1350 high by 1080 wide. So the resolution in any program, you should be able to set this resolution. This is the width by the height. So if I did 1080 by 1080, that would be a square one, and that'd be perfect and ready for Instagram or Facebook. And where like Instagram or Facebook, they have it where it's slightly taller than it is wide. The resolution for that is 1350 by 1080. And the frame rate, like on my camera, I'll shoot at 23.98 like the film one. But since I shot this one on my phone, it should be 30 frames per second. So that's one thing to think about. If you set this incorrectly, it can be stretched out or wonky in a weird way. So, but this one is for YouTube. So I'm gonna do 1920 by 1080, just standard HD, 30 frames per second. You don't have to mess with the other settings. So now we have this project where we can load clips into. So, since I have this longer clip, what you can do is, go through and set an in point and an out point. So if I drag this down, it'll just be that little 10-second clip. However, since it's so long and Final Cut is good at this, I'm probably just gonna bring the whole thing down. It's up to you how you wanna work. If you have, like for this one, I'll probably just hit I and then O. This is true for all applications, that just grab the little portions of the clip that I want to use and move them down. But for this one, it's a longer clip. And, when I'm in here, I can hit O and I and like trim it like that, or even grab the handle. But it's nice as you're listening through. And for all the applications, J is go backwards, K is to stop, or space is stop and start as well, and L is go forward. And if I hit L multiple times, that will go forward really quickly. So my audio levels are a little bit quiet. So you can see the audio is really bad, which is why I shot the audio separately. And you can see like the length of the clips. So this long clip goes with this audio. So if I do right click and do synchronize clips and do main discussion synchronized, you'll do audio for synchronization. You can disable the audio components for AV. I kind of like to just open it up and turn it off, just in case like I hit it or something and need to bring it up again. So if I double click on this, you can see what's happening. I have my audio clip and my video clip with the original audio. And if I take the audio down so it's off. Hi there, this is Jacob LE Video Production, and so that's the new audio. This is the original. So I very bad. So it should be synced. You can adjust it manually otherwise. So I'm setting the audio level for this, the volume, and I'm looking for, areas where it is clipping or peaking. Audio can get really distorted in a bad way. So, I have it set up so I can see the audio levels. Shooting on your phone with a backlight, that it will clip. So it doesn't sound terrible now, but if I were to export this, it would clip and get really distorted and sound bad. So you have two options. One is to turn down the overall volume. The other, if you have a couple areas that are just crazy loud in comparison to other things, you can go in and turn down the level for that part. I'm option clicking. In other programs, it can be P for the pen tool. So I'm just turning the audio down at this one part so it doesn't clip anymore. But it looks like it's peaking in a number of places, so I can probably just turn down the overall volume a little bit. And so this is where they're both together. If I go back to the main clip, so I'm just hitting space or JKL. So I have two options. One is the razor blade tool, which will cut the clip, and I can move it around. It makes it its own separate clip. Or also, let me undo, Command Z, Control Z on a PC. If I hit the O, that'll set the out point, and if I delete that, that will now start it at this spot. Hi there, this is Jacob LE Video Production, and in this tutorial, so I restarted again. So I'm going to go in and hit O, set the out point. I could also use the razor blade tool, but I find this to be a little bit faster. Hi there, this is Jacob LE Video Production, and this is the advanced ultimate guide to shooting videos on your phone for your business, for social media, or... So sometimes if I know I did it for a while pretty well, I can do it, listen to it double speed to save time and be listening if I mess something up and had to repeat it. So other reasons you can do really high quality professional videos on your phone. This is... I don't want to use the in or the out now because I just want to take out a portion here. I started again there. So I want to take out this part. So I'm going to hit B for the razor blade tool and clip that. Switch to the selection tool. On Final Cut, that's A. $300 in total. You may be able to hear an ambulance in the background. I am going to wait to... So I actually am keeping in that little bit about it because it's tips on filming your own video, and I'm just saying there's ambulance in the background. You want to pause and be listening for loud sounds like that are going to be distracting for your videos. Continue, that's something. So I'm going to speed this up quite a bit. This is the process I go through of just going through and clipping the bits just like that. Basically just cutting out the extra parts that are bad. If it would be completely out of order and you're just talking about random things up there and you had to, go in and set the order yourself, it makes sense to, up in here, listen for things and then construct the edit in order that way. But for this one, it's basically in the order that I want it to appear already. So it's simpler and easier to just have it in the timeline and cut out all the different portions that I don't want, or if I made a little mistake, just chop that out. So I'm going to go through the whole video and make sure it's all set up in order. All right, so I cut out all the portions where there was a mistake or to cut out. And this is for YouTube, so jump cuts are very normal. And what really, I'll mute it. What a jump cut is where there's a cut and I like jump in the frame because I cut some out, but it's the same angle. And with YouTube, these are super common. That is a completely fine, normal way to do it. But you know, if I was doing something for a corporation or super professional, you know, beyond YouTube, more casual talking to the camera, I'd probably try to find a way to cover that up. Or sometimes you can like zoom in on the footage. This isn't quite high resolution enough and it's a little too close, but if it was a further back, higher resolution clip, under 100 hops, around $300 in total. You may be able to hear an ambulance. You can see is that it's more like a completely different cut to something else. But this is YouTube. Jump cuts are completely fine. Same would be for Facebook, really for casual social media stuff. So I just need to get that in the right order. So it's more or less in the right order. Toward the end, there were a few portions that I found that I was like, oh, I mentioned earlier this thing, let me add one little thing. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to speed it up, but I'm going to find those clips and move them around, insert them where they need to go. So, you know, it's taking the clip and changing around the order that it appears. So this is the exact order it's in. All right, so everything is in the correct order now. It is all set up. I can go through, you know, see if any of the audio is peaking or too quiet. It actually looks pretty good. And I think a good next step is to see, like, in these transitions, make sure they're happening smoothly. You may be able to hear an ambulance. So that seemed fine. You don't want like way too long of a gap, or sometimes you didn't cut it quite right and it like cuts off a portion. Or sometimes it's really challenging where like words are combined, kind of like meshed together. So if you're trying to take out an that someone said, remove it. And it's like, so I was going to the store and I go, when you take that out, you have to be really finessed and careful with not having it end like abruptly. So you may have to fade it or something like that, which is how the audio level like ramp up so it transitions properly. So it's good to go through all the transition points and make sure those are, you know, a good length. It diffuses it. I have this right here. So that's a decent length. I kind of like turn here. I think I was checking something out. So I may cut out, you can just drag it here. You could also hit O and select that, but if I just drag, I'm going to cut out that portion. I have this right here that which is fine. I would be a little more finessed if this was a big commercial or something like that. Like there are some. You can see right here, it like cuts off the very first portion. So I want to get in that full beginning. There are some in any way daylight. Actually, I don't want this little portion, so I want to cut it here. In any way, there are some where you can do any range from. You can zoom in and out on the timeline. For me, it's Command plus minus. So you can, you know, get really close in there because it's a little harder when I'm zoomed out like that. But when I zoom in, I can see. The other thing. So you can adjust all the transition points because, you know, when it's this like 4-minute portion that I did, I don't really have to mess with that. But I want to make sure between the different cuts, it edits really well. So I'm going to watch this all the way through one more time to make sure that nothing is repeated or there aren't mistakes or something missing or the wrong order. And the reason I'm doing this, when I add music, if you want to add music later, you want to get the edit kind of locked into place before you're adding music, because with music, you may have to figure out how long something needs to be or transition from one to the other. So you want to get the edit as close as possible. Now, if you're editing to the music, if you're bringing in the music and then having the clips go along with it, you want to bring that in early so that they can match with one another. But if it's a clip like this where I'm just talking, and I don't think I'll use music in the final version, but I'll show you how you would do that if you wanted music. So I don't know if you've heard the term A-roll and B-roll. Basically, I have all these things I am talking about and discussing in this video, and it's just me talking to camera. So on some videos, that can be the entire video. It's just you talking to camera. But like in this one, I'm talking about some of the accessories that I use. For example, I'll pull up, you know, I have this thing to hold the camera and, you know, the mic pack that I'm using and the lights. So as I watch through this again, I'm going to be looking to see if the transitions work well and to make sure everything is in the right order. But I'm also going to be listening for areas where I have like a clip. For example, when I talk about having a device that will hold your phone, I can, you know, choose the in point, choose the out point. So if I drag this down, it won't be at the right portion right now. But now the video, I'll want to mute it or turn off the audio. But now I'm talking, and it is windy. And the second thing I have going on is I have 2 light sources in front of me. So now I'm talking, but this clip is over top. So I want to be looking for the portions of it where I can put that footage over top. And not all videos I do this, but for this one, since I was talking specifically about different devices you can use, it's very valuable for me to shoot a couple extra shots and then put those over top so people are seeing those things as I'm talking about them. All right, so I have put everything into place on my timeline. I have, you know, different parts where it goes with it. So if I have music or graphics, I can do that. Or, you know, I intentionally didn't adjust this. You can see the footage is pretty orange. So if I want to change that, I'll select the clip and you'll select your color corrector. What I can do is go into color. This is the color board, but you can do other ones. Often, like starting with the midtones, you can see that you can sort of adjust the overall image and, you know, make it brighter or less dark. And I also did this intentionally. You know, when I had my clip before it was cut up, I could have adjusted the color grade. Because if I choose this clip and, you know, adjust add color. This one I'd probably like, the whites don't look too bad. It's mainly like my skin tones, which is often the midtones. So if I take the orange out of the midtones, and maybe a little, just a touch out of the shadows. So you have your bright parts, your highlights, the other parts, the midtones, and the shadow. So I would say, you know, this isn't perfect, but this is an improvement. Here's before, very orange, and here's after. I may back off on the blue just a touch. But yeah, here's before, after. You can keep fine-tuning it and tweaking it if you want to. However, so this clip I've applied that to, but all the other clips are now separate. But luckily there's a really easy way to do it. I'm going to click copy and then select all the clips, and I will paste all of the attributes color board. Now when I paste this, every single one has this color grade applied. And since the lighting was the same all the way through, I can just apply it to all of them. If it was changing shots, I couldn't just apply it en masse to every single one of these clips. So, you know, I might go in and color grade all of these. I think it looks pretty fine, especially for YouTube. And I'm not going to have music in here, but, you know, I could give an example. I have a full video on choosing music and importing it. I will have a card up at the top, but let's say I have this piece of music. It's going to be very loud, and I would turn down the audio. And now if I layer it underneath, I'll be able to play both of them at the same time. You know, and I talked about like fading in the music. And Final Cut is this little button, but that, you know, fades it in. So these are LED lights, which are awesome. They are battery powered, so you could be shooting in the woods at night and still have nice lighting, be able to act. So this is, I would say, definitely a bit on the loud side. You have to be pretty careful just with music. You don't want it to overpower it. You want it to complement it and, you know, be at a good level in comparison to the voice. And the very last little thing, if you have graphics like the one I have here, I have my social icons I designed, so I just drag it in, and because I have that alpha channel, or like a PNG where it can be transparent. Hi there, this is Jacob L. It just shows up like that. On all of these clips, you can adjust the size and the scale. So, you know, I've been recording for about an hour, but it's definitely taken me longer to talk through it. It'd probably take me 30-40 minutes to cut these together, but I've showed you how we could have the whole thing edited and then B-roll clips over top, and in the right order, good color grading, good sound. I've showed you how to do music if you want to do that, and once you get it all set, it never hurts to watch it one more time all the way through. But then you can export the whole thing and you'll be able to upload it to YouTube. And that is probably where I'm going to leave off on this video, but I am putting together, I'll have a card for it, one on everything you need to know on uploading to YouTube, how to optimize it, the file type, what keywords to use, things like that. I will say you want to figure out the keywords before you do the video, because, you know, that'll influence what you actually talk about, and if you actually say the keyword in your video, they are going to let you rank better for that keyword. So Please, I'll have it at the end as well. If you're interested in uploading it, exporting it, that whole process of getting it online and ready, watch that video. But that is it for this one. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one.